Did you know your brain is sometimes more active while you're asleep than when you're wide awake? Tonight, we're going deep into the science of what happens after you close your eyes. Most people think sleep is just an off switch, but under the hood, your mind is running the most complex streaming service ever created. Are you tired of waking up feeling like a zombie? Do you wish you could actually remember those wild stories your brain tells you at 3 a.m.? Do you lie in bed wondering why you can't fall asleep even though you're exhausted? If so, you're in the right place. In this video, you'll learn the hidden sleep architecture that repairs your body, and by the end, you'll know the exact steps to potentially record your own dreams. Stay tuned, because in a few minutes, I'll share the one trick that scientists use to communicate with people while they are still fast asleep. It's insane. I'm talking about actual two-way conversations with people who are dreaming. This isn't science fiction. It happened in 2021, and it changed everything we thought we knew about the boundary between waking and sleeping. Today, we're talking about the secret life of the sleeping brain. The reason most people struggle with rest is that they treat sleep like a chore, something to get through so they can wake up and be productive again. You might have a comfortable bed, blackout curtains, a white noise machine, all the gear, but how do you actually master the stages of sleep to keep your mind sharp? How do you turn sleep from a passive activity into an active superpower? This is an art, and it's one of the hardest things to learn when you're just trying to get through a long day. But the good news is there is a right answer. I've analyzed the latest neuroscience and sleep studies from institutions like MIT, Stanford, Northwestern, and sleep labs across the world, and they all point to the same biological process. This formula has driven our survival for millions of years, and it works every single time. Your ancestors who mastered this lived longer, thought clearer, and passed on their genes. The ones who didn't, they got eaten by predators because they couldn't think straight. In this video, I'm going to break it all down into a simple plan that you can start using tonight. We'll cover the 4 stages of sleep and what's happening in each one, the mystery of nightmares and why your brain creates them on purpose, the lucid trick to control your dreams, how animals dream and what that tells us about consciousness, the cutting-edge technology that can decode what you're dreaming about, and the hidden waste removal system that keeps your brain from literally poisoning itself. I've spent years studying this stuff, reading research papers, interviewing neuroscientists, and testing these techniques on myself, and helping people understand their own biology is all I do. So buckle up. This is going to be a wild ride through the landscape of your unconscious mind. Before we get into the crazy dream stuff and the stages of sleep, there is a critical first piece that you have to understand. And this alone will change how you think about sleep forever. Winning at sleep, and actually winning at life in general, is all about hacking human psychology. There's a concept I want to introduce you to that governs everything from why you enjoy a movie to why you wake up feeling refreshed or terrible. It's called expectations versus reality. Your brain is constantly making predictions about what's going to happen next. When reality beats those expectations, when things turn out better than you thought, you feel amazing. You're happy, satisfied, energized. But when reality falls short of expectations, when things disappoint you, you feel frustrated, anxious, and defeated. This principle is the foundation of everything I'm going to teach you today, because sleep is all about setting up the right expectations and then having your biology deliver something even better. Most people expect sleep to be boring, a waste of time, 8 hours of nothing. But the reality, your brain is running the most sophisticated repair, filing, and creative system in the known universe. Once you understand what's actually happening, sleep stops being a chore and starts being the most fascinating part of your day. Think about it like this. Have you ever given a public speech? Before you go on stage, your expectations are probably rock bottom. You think you're going to forget your lines, stutter, bomb completely, but then you get up there and you do fine. Maybe you even do great. And afterwards, you feel incredible. Why? Because reality beat expectations. Your brain releases dopamine, you feel proud, and you want to do it again. That's the same psychology we're going to apply to sleep. Right now, your expectations about sleep are probably pretty low. You think it's just downtime. But I'm about to show you a reality that's so much better than that expectation, your mind is going to be blown. And once you see what's really happening, you'll never look at your pillow the same way again. We often think of sleep as one long, boring snooze, like pressing pause for 8 hours. You close your eyes, the world goes dark, and then you wake up. Simple, right? Wrong. The reality is that sleep is a symphony. It has stages, patterns, movements, crescendos, and a structure that scientists call sleep architecture. Think of your night like a looped playlist that repeats every 90 minutes. Each loop has different songs, different stages, and each one has a specific job to do. If you look at a sleep graph from a professional sleep lab, it doesn't look like a flat line. It looks like a roller coaster, with your brain diving deep, rising up, diving again, over and over throughout the night. And this isn't random. This is your brain following an ancient evolutionary blueprint that's been refined over millions of years. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that 8 hours of sleep is all that matters. They'll say, I got my 8 hours, why do I still feel terrible? But if you disrupt the quality of those cycles, your brain never gets to do its chores. Imagine trying to wash your clothes, but the machine keeps stopping before the rinse cycle. You'd end up with soapy, dirty clothes. That's what happens when your sleep architecture is broken. You could be in bed for 10 hours, but if you're waking up constantly, if you're not cycling through the stages properly, if you're stuck in light sleep and never hitting deep sleep or REM sleep, you're going to wake up feeling worse than if you'd only slept 6 hours with proper architecture. Quality beats quantity every single time. This is why some people can function on 6 hours and feel great, while others sleep 9 hours and feel like garbage. It's not about the time in bed, it's about the cycles completed. Let's start at the beginning. Stage 1, also called N1, is the lightest stage of sleep. This is the transition zone, the twilight between waking and sleeping. You're just beginning to drift off and you're still kind of aware of the room around you. Your brain waves shift from fast beta waves, the waves of active thinking, to slower theta waves. This stage usually only lasts about 5 to 10 minutes. Your muscles start to relax, your breathing slows down, and your eyes might make slow, rolling movements under your eyelids. You're not deeply asleep yet. In fact, if someone were to shake you awake right now, you'd insist you weren't sleeping at all. You'd say, no, I was just resting my eyes. Have you ever felt like you were suddenly falling and your leg kicked out? That's called a hypnic jerk or a hypnagogic jerk. It's one of the strangest things your body does, and scientists aren't 100% sure why it happens. The leading theory is that it's just your nervous system glitching as it tries to power down. Your muscles are relaxing so quickly that your brain misinterprets it as falling, so it sends a jolt to your limbs to catch yourself. It's completely harmless, just a little electrical hiccup on the way to dreamland. During N1, you might also experience strange, fleeting hallucinations, random images, sounds, or sensations that don't make any sense. These are called hypnagogic hallucinations. You might see a flash of a face, hear someone call your name, or feel like you're floating. This is your brain starting to let go of its grip on reality and beginning to dip into the world of dreams. Most people spend only about 5% of their total sleep time in N1. It's brief, it's shallow, but it's necessary. It's the doorway you have to walk through to get to the deeper, more restorative stages. Now you're sinking deeper. Welcome to Stage 2, or N2. This is where you spend the bulk of your night. About 50% of your total sleep time happens here. Your heart rate slows down even more. Your body temperature drops by about half a degree, and your eye movements stop completely. Inside your brain, something incredible is happening. Little bursts of rapid, rhythmic brainwave activity called sleep spindles start firing. These spindles are like a do not disturb sign for your brain. They actively block out external stimuli, the sound of a car horn outside, a dog barking, your partner rolling over in bed, so you stay asleep instead of waking up at every tiny noise. Sleep spindles are one of the defining features of N2, and they're absolutely critical. Research has shown that people with more frequent sleep spindles tend to have better memory consolidation. Your brain is using these spindles to lock in the information you learned during the day, moving it from short-term storage to long-term storage. In addition to sleep spindles, you'll also see something called K-complexes on a brainwave reading. K-complexes are these sudden, sharp spikes in brain activity. They're your brain's way of saying, I heard that noise, but I've evaluated it and decided it's not a threat, so I'm staying asleep. They're like a mini security check that happens dozens of times throughout the night without you ever knowing it. N2 is also when your body starts preparing for the deeper stages. Your muscles continue to relax, your breathing becomes more regular, and your brain starts producing slower delta waves in preparation for the next stage. This is the workhorse stage. It's not as flashy as REM sleep with its vivid dreams, and it's not as restorative as deep sleep with its physical repair, but it's essential. Without enough N2, your memory suffers, your ability to learn new things decreases, and you're more likely to wake up during the night. This is the big one, Stage 3, also called N3 or slow wave sleep or deep sleep. This is the restorative phase, the deep clean cycle of your brain's dishwasher. Your brain produces massive, slow delta waves, the slowest brain waves you'll ever produce while still alive. This is when your body goes to work on physical repair. Growth hormone is released, flooding your system and repairing tissues, building muscle and strengthening your immune system. For kids and teenagers, this is where they literally grow. Height increases happen during deep sleep. For adults, this is where we recover from the day, where sore muscles get repaired, where micro tears in tissue get patched up. Your blood pressure drops, your breathing becomes slow and deep, and you're extremely difficult to wake up. If someone does manage to wake you from deep sleep, you'll feel completely disoriented, what sleep scientists call sleep inertia, or what I like to call sleep drunk. You won't know where you are, what time it is, or why you're being bothered. It can take several minutes for your brain to fully come back online. Deep sleep is also when your immune system gets supercharged. Your body produces cytokines, proteins that help fight infection, inflammation, and stress. This is why when you're sick, all you want to do is sleep. Your body is literally forcing you into deep sleep so it can produce more of these healing proteins. If you've ever felt groggy or terrible after a nap, it's usually because you woke up in the middle of N3. Your brain was deep in the delta wave zone, and being yanked out of it feels awful. That's why power naps are usually kept to 20 to 30 minutes, long enough to get some N2 benefits, but short enough to avoid falling into deep sleep. You spend more time in deep sleep during the first half of the night. Your first cycle might have 30 to 40 minutes of deep sleep, but by the time you get to your fourth or fifth cycle, you might only get 5 to 10 minutes, or none at all. Your body front-loads the physical repair work, so that if you get woken up early or don't get a full night, you've at least completed the most critical repairs. Welcome to the mysterious realm of rapid eye movement. This is where things get weird. Your eyes are darting around under your lids as if you're watching a movie, which, in a sense, you are. Your brain is projecting images, stories, scenarios, and full-blown narratives onto the screen of your mind. Here is the truly bizarre part. Your brain is just as active as when you're awake. If you looked at someone's brain scan during REM sleep, it would light up like a Christmas tree, almost indistinguishable from waking brain activity. The visual cortex is firing, the emotional centers are going haywire, the memory centers are active. Your brain is running at full speed. But your body is completely paralyzed. This is called REM atonia, and it's a safety feature that evolved to keep you from physically acting out your dreams. Imagine if you didn't have this paralysis. You're dreaming that you're running from a bear and your actual legs start pumping. You'd kick your partner, fall out of bed, or crash into furniture. REM atonia keeps you safe. There's actually a condition called REM sleep behavior disorder, where this paralysis doesn't work properly. People with this condition will physically act out their dreams, punching, kicking, even getting up and walking around, and they have no memory of it in the morning. It's rare, but it shows just how important that paralysis mechanism is. REM sleep is vital for several reasons. First, it's where most of your vivid narrative dreams occur. Second, it's crucial for emotional regulation, processing the feelings and stresses of the day. Third, it's essential for creativity and problem solving. Your brain makes connections during REM that it would never make while awake because the logical, rule-following prefrontal cortex is partially offline. You cycle into REM about every 90 minutes, but your REM periods get longer as the night goes on. Your first REM period might only be 10 minutes, but by morning, you might be in for 30 to 40 minutes at a stretch. This is why your most vivid, memorable dreams usually happen right before you wake up. Interestingly, babies spend about 50% of their sleep in REM, compared to 20 to 25% for adults. Scientists believe this is because their brains are developing so rapidly. They're learning language, motor skills, social cues, and REM sleep is when all that learning gets consolidated. But here's what scientists discovered that changes everything about how we understand this stage, and it involves a conversation that should have been impossible. In 2021, researchers figured out how to ask people questions while they were in REM sleep, and the dreamers answered back. Think about that for a second. We broke the wall between the waking world and the dreaming world. I'll tell you exactly how they did it later, but first you need to understand why your brain creates dreams in the first place. So we've covered the how of sleep, the stages, the cycles, the architecture, but what about the why? Why does your brain go to the trouble of creating talking penguins and marshmallow libraries? Why do you dream about flying, or showing up to school naked, or having a conversation with someone who's been dead for 10 years? For centuries, humans have been obsessed with this question. Ancient Egyptians thought dreams were messages from the gods. Freud thought they were expressions of repressed desires. Jung thought they were windows into a collective unconscious. Modern neuroscience has given us several compelling theories, and the truth is probably a combination of all of them. One major theory is that dreaming is essentially a cleanup job. Every single day, you get hit with an absolute avalanche of information, thousands of faces, songs, facts, conversations, emotions, and stresses. Your brain can't keep all of it. If it tried, you'd run out of storage space pretty quickly. At night, your brain has to decide what to keep and what to toss into the trash. It's like sorting through your email inbox. Some messages are important and get filed into folders, some are junk and get deleted, and some are in between and need a second look. Dreams might just be the previews of the files your brain is currently moving around. When you dream about something random from your day, a coffee shop you passed, a snippet of a song you heard, it's because your brain is actively processing that memory, deciding whether it's worth keeping or not. This is called the memory consolidation theory of dreaming, and there's a lot of evidence to support it. Students who study material and then sleep perform better on tests than students who study and stay awake. Athletes who practice a skill and then sleep show better improvement than those who don't. Your brain is literally practicing and reinforcing neural pathways while you're unconscious. Have you ever noticed that a problem feels a little less heavy after a night of sleep? There's a saying, sleep on it, and it turns out there's real science behind that advice. REM sleep strips the emotional sting off your memories. It's like your brain is role-playing your stress in a safe, surreal environment so you don't wake up in a panic. During REM, your brain is processing emotional experiences, but the stress hormone noradrenaline is suppressed. You're reliving the emotion without the physical stress response. This is called the emotional regulation theory, and it explains why people with PTSD often have such terrible sleep. Their brains keep replaying traumatic memories during dreams, but because the emotional processing system is disrupted, they wake up in a state of panic instead of feeling resolved. Here's where I have to share something personal. A few years ago, I went through a breakup that absolutely wrecked me. It wasn't just sad, it felt like my entire world had collapsed. For weeks, I'd wake up at 3 a.m. with this sharp, crushing anxiety in my chest, like someone was sitting on my ribcage. The first thought every morning was the memory of what I'd lost, and it would hit me like a freight train. But I noticed something weird. Each morning, the pain felt slightly more distant, like my brain was slowly turning down the volume on a speaker. The memory was still there, but it felt less raw, less sharp. I didn't understand it then, but now I know exactly what was happening. My REM sleep was literally rewiring my emotional response to that memory, helping me process the loss bit by bit, night by night. Your brain is protecting you in ways you don't even realize. It's running emotional fire drills, practicing how to handle stress and pain so that when you face it in the real world, you're more resilient. That's the hidden gift of REM sleep. Some scientists take a colder, more mechanical view. They think dreams are just random electrical impulses, and your brain is trying to make sense of the chaos. This is called the activation synthesis theory, proposed by psychiatrists Alan Hobson and Robert McCarley in the 1970s. The idea is that during REM sleep, your brainstem fires random signals up to your cortex. Your cortex, the storyteller part of your brain, sees these random signals and tries to stitch them together into a narrative. If the signal activates your visual cortex in a weird way, you see something strange. If it hits your motor cortex, you dream about running. If it stimulates your memory centers randomly, your third-grade teacher shows up on a pirate ship for no logical reason. It's like your brain is doing improv comedy. Someone shouts random words, elephant, skateboard, tax return, and your brain has to create a story that ties them all together. The result? Bizarre, surreal, illogical dreams that feel meaningful in the moment but make zero sense when you wake up. This is one of my favorite theories because it's deeply evolutionary. Finnish psychologist Antti Revonsuo proposed that dreams are essentially your brain's virtual reality training simulator for threats. Think about it. Our ancestors lived in a world full of predators, hostile tribes, dangerous weather, and life-or-death situations. The humans who survived weren't just the strongest or the fastest. They were the ones who could anticipate danger and react appropriately. Dreams let you practice those reactions in a safe, virtual environment. You dream about being chased because your brain is running a drill that says, "What would you do if a predator was after you?" You dream about falling because your brain is testing your response to physical danger. You dream about social rejection, showing up naked to school, forgetting your lines in a presentation, because humans are social animals, and social threats can be just as dangerous as physical ones. Modern humans don't face saber-toothed tigers anymore, but our brains are still running the same ancient software. So now we dream about missing a flight, showing up late to a meeting, or getting a call that a loved one is in the hospital. Our threats have changed, but the simulation system is the same. But what happens when your brain's storyteller decides to write a horror movie instead of a comedy? The answer reveals something shocking about what nightmares are actually trying to teach you. And it turns out nightmares aren't a bug in the system, they're a feature, and they might be saving your life. We've talked about the happy side of dreaming, the filing, the sorting, the creative connections, but what about the moments when your brain turns into a horror movie director? You're being chased by something terrible, you're falling from a great height, you're standing in public with no clothes on, you're trying to scream but no sound comes out. Why would your own mind do that to you? Nightmares are basically emotional thunderstorms. They happen during REM sleep, and they are loud, vivid, and terrifying. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing gets shallow, you might wake up sweating or crying. But here's the reality beating your expectations. Nightmares aren't glitches. They aren't your brain malfunctioning or punishing you. They are often a psychological fire drill. Your brain is running a simulation of a worst-case scenario so you can practice feeling fear and finding solutions without being in actual danger. It's like a crash test for your emotions. Car companies don't crash their vehicles because they want to destroy them. They do it to see what breaks so they can make the car safer. Your brain does the same thing with nightmares. It throws you into scary situations to test your responses and build resilience. Studies have shown that people who have occasional nightmares actually tend to be better at handling real-life stress. Their brains have practiced the fear response so many times in the safe environment of sleep that when real danger appears, they're calmer and more effective. Of course, there's a limit. Frequent, recurring nightmares, especially ones that wake you up repeatedly, can be a sign of anxiety, PTSD, or other mental health issues. That's when the fire drill has turned into a false alarm that won't stop going off. A lot of people mix these up, but they are completely different animals, happening in different stages of sleep and involving different brain systems. Nightmares happen in REM sleep, usually in the second half of the night. They have a narrative, a story with characters, settings, and events. You usually remember them vividly when you wake up because your memory centers are active during REM. They're scary, but they're just dreams. Night terrors, on the other hand, are a completely different beast. They happen in deep non-REM sleep, usually in the first few hours after you fall asleep. This is a panic storm in the brainstem, the primitive reptilian part of your brain that controls basic survival responses. During a night terror, a person might scream, thrash, bolt upright in bed, or even get up and run around. Their eyes might be open, but they're not actually awake. If you try to talk to them, they won't respond coherently. Their heart rate can spike to over 160 beats per minute. It looks absolutely terrifying from the outside. But here's the weird part. When they actually wake up, they usually have zero memory of it. Unlike a nightmare, which you remember, a night terror is more like a system error that reboots itself. The person might remember a vague sense of dread or a single image, a shadow, a feeling of being trapped, but nothing concrete. Night terrors are more common in children, and most kids grow out of them by their teenage years. They're often triggered by sleep deprivation, stress, fever, or sleeping in an unfamiliar environment. They're not dangerous, but they can be scary for parents or partners watching it happen. If you have a recurring nightmare, the same scary scenario playing over and over, there's a technique that can actually hack your brain and change the script. It's called imagery rehearsal therapy, and it's incredibly effective. Here's how it works. While you're awake and fully conscious, you write down your nightmare in detail, every element, the setting, the characters, what happens. Then you rewrite the ending. You change the outcome to something neutral or even positive. If a monster is chasing you, maybe in your new version you turn around and the monster stops and asks for directions because it's lost. If you're falling, maybe you suddenly realize you can fly and you soar upward instead. If you're trapped in a burning building, maybe you find a hidden exit that wasn't there before. The key is to make it realistic enough that your brain accepts it, but different enough that it changes the emotional trajectory. Then you rehearse this new version in your mind several times a day. You visualize it, you feel it, you make it real in your imagination. What happens is that your brain starts to encode this new version into memory alongside the old nightmare. And because you're rehearsing it while awake, when your memory systems are strongest, it starts to take priority. Eventually, when you dream, your brain runs the new script instead of the old one. This technique was originally developed for combat veterans with PTSD, and it's shown success rates of 70 to 80% in reducing or eliminating recurring nightmares. It works because dreams aren't set in stone. They're malleable, and you can influence them by changing the patterns you rehearse during the day. And speaking of rehearsing while you sleep, you wouldn't believe what scientists discovered when they watched the dreams of other species. One experiment with rats proved that animals are practicing something very specific, and it completely changes what we thought we knew about consciousness. The implications are mind-blowing. Have you ever seen a dog's paws twitching while they sleep? Their eyes moving rapidly under their lids, little whimpers or muffled barks escaping. It looks like they're chasing a squirrel in a phantom park, running through fields that only exist in their mind. Well, the science says they probably are. Animals dream, and not just dogs. Cats, rats, birds, elephants, even octopuses show signs of REM sleep and dreaming. This discovery has profound implications for our understanding of consciousness, memory, and what it means to have a subjective experience. The most compelling evidence comes from a groundbreaking study done at MIT by researchers Matthew Wilson and Kenway Louie. They wanted to know if rats could dream, and if so, what they dreamed about. Here's what they did. They implanted tiny electrodes in the hippocampus of rats, the part of the brain responsible for spatial memory and navigation. Then they had the rats run through a maze, recording the song of neurons firing as the rat moved through specific locations. Every place in the maze had a unique neural signature, a pattern of neurons firing in a specific sequence. It was like a musical phrase, and by recording it, the scientists could tell exactly where in the maze the rat was just by looking at its brain activity. Then they let the rat sleep and kept recording. And here's where it gets incredible. During REM sleep, the exact same brain song played. The same patterns, the same sequences, the same locations lighting up in the rat's brain. The rat was mentally running the maze again, practicing the route in its sleep. And it wasn't just a vague replay, it was so precise that the researchers could tell exactly where in the maze the rat was dreaming about at any given moment. If the rat was at the first turn in the maze during the dream, they could see it in the neural data. It was like watching a replay of a sports game, except the game was happening entirely in the rat's mind. This proved beyond doubt that rats don't just sleep, they dream, they remember, and they practice. They're consolidating memories, reinforcing learning, just like we do. So, what about the animals we share our homes with? What's going on in their minds while they snooze on the couch? Dogs. Research suggests that smaller dogs dream more frequently, but larger dogs have longer dreams. A toy poodle might have a dream every 10 minutes that lasts a minute, while a golden retriever might have a dream every 45 minutes, but the dream lasts 5 to 10 minutes. What are they dreaming about? Almost certainly you. Dogs are obsessively social animals. You are the center of their universe, their pack leader, their favorite thing in existence. Studies suggest they dream about their daily activities, walks in the park, playing fetch, eating dinner, and most of all, interacting with their humans. So when your dog is twitching and whimpering in their sleep, there's a good chance they're dreaming about you. Maybe you're throwing a ball, maybe you're giving them treats, maybe you're just sitting together on the couch, which to them is the best moment of their entire day. It's honestly one of the most heartwarming things about the human-dog relationship. Cats are more mysterious, which should surprise exactly no one. But in a famous study from the 1960s, French scientist Michel Jouvet discovered something incredible about cat dreams. He disabled the part of their brain that causes REM atonia, the paralysis that normally keeps you still during dreams. What happened? The cats started physically acting out their dreams. They would crouch, stalk, pounce, and swat at invisible prey while completely unconscious. These weren't random movements, they were coordinated, purposeful hunting behaviors. Cats are ambush predators, and their brains are hardwired for hunting. Even well-fed house cats who've never caught a mouse in their lives dream about stalking and capturing prey. It's in their DNA, and their dreams let them practice skills that millions of years of evolution have embedded in their nervous system. Birds. This one is truly special. Some songbirds, like zebra finches, actually practice their tunes in their sleep. Researchers at the University of Chicago recorded the brain activity of young finches learning songs from adult birds. During the day, the young birds would listen and try to imitate the song, not quite getting it right, kind of like a kid learning to play piano. But at night, while the birds slept, their brains fired the same neural patterns they use when singing. They were doing dream karaoke, running through the song in their minds. The birds that got more REM sleep learned the songs faster and sang them more accurately. Sleep wasn't just rest for them, it was essential practice time. This suggests that dreaming isn't just a byproduct of sleep, it's an active learning tool used across species. Think of it this way. Imagine your brain is a theater with a massive stage. During the day, you're the actor performing under bright lights with a live audience. But at night, when everyone goes home, your brain stays behind. The stage crew comes out and starts running dress rehearsals, practicing your lines, testing new choreography, fixing the set pieces. The animals in the MIT study proved that dreams aren't just random chaos. They're your brain's private rehearsal space, running drills for tomorrow's performance. The rat practices the maze. The dog practices being with you. The cat practices the hunt. The bird practices the song. And the craziest part? You can actually walk onto that stage while you're still asleep. You can become aware that you're in the rehearsal and take control of it. Which brings us to the mind-bending discovery. Scientists have figured out how to peek through the curtain and actually see what's playing on that stage. The technology sounds like science fiction, but it's already here, and it's only going to get more powerful. The question is, do you want someone else watching your dreams? This is the part that sounds like black magic, like something out of a Philip K. Dick novel. Can we actually see what's inside your head? Can we decode the movies playing on the screen of your mind? The answer is, we're getting there, and it's happening faster than most people realize. Researchers at the Kyoto ATR Computational Neuroscience Laboratories in Japan did something that shouldn't have been possible. They used fMRI machines, functional magnetic resonance imaging, basically giant magnets that can see blood flow and activity patterns in your brain, to scan people while they slept. But they didn't just scan randomly. First, they showed the participants thousands of images while they were awake, pictures of objects, animals, people, buildings, nature scenes, and recorded which parts of the brain lit up for each type of image. They built a database. This pattern means car. This pattern means tree. This pattern means person. Then, they let the participants fall asleep while still in the machine. They woke them up during the early stages of sleep, during those hypnagogic hallucinations I mentioned earlier, and asked them what they were seeing. The participants would say things like, "I saw a man walking," or "There was a tree and a road," or "I was looking at a car." The researchers would then look at the brain scans from just before they woke the person up and try to guess what they had been dreaming about based on the patterns they'd mapped earlier. The result? They were able to guess the broad categories, man, tree, car, with about 60% accuracy. That might not sound impressive at first, but think about what that means. We can now read your dreams with better than chance accuracy. We're decoding the contents of your unconscious mind using nothing but magnetic fields and computer algorithms. We aren't at the point of watching a high-definition movie of your thoughts yet. The resolution isn't there. But the reality is beating the expectation that dreams are completely untraceable, locked away in the black box of your skull where no one can see them. That wall is coming down. In follow-up studies, researchers have pushed this even further. They can now predict not just objects, but actions, emotions, and even the general mood of a dream. They can tell if you're having a pleasant dream or an anxious one. They can see if you're dreaming about social interactions or about being alone. As this technology gets better, and it will exponentially, we have to start talking about neurorights. If a machine can read your dreams, do you still have privacy? Can an employer demand to scan your brain to see if you've been dreaming about their competitors? Can law enforcement use dream reading to investigate crimes? Can advertisers scan your dreams to find out your deepest desires and fears? This isn't science fiction. These questions are being debated right now in legal and ethical circles. Your subconscious has been, up until now, the last place on Earth that is truly, completely, 100% yours. No one can get in there without your permission. But that's changing. The European Union and several countries are already beginning to draft laws around neuroliberty, the right to mental privacy. Chile became the first country to add neuro rights to its constitution in 2021. They recognized that as brain-reading technology advances, we need legal protections for the contents of our minds, just like we have protections for the privacy of our homes and our communications. Think about it. If someone can see what you're dreaming about, they can see your fears, your desires, your secrets, things you might not even know about yourself. That's more intimate than your search history, more revealing than your text messages. That's the raw, unfiltered contents of your subconscious. The technology is coming whether we're ready or not. The question is, will we protect it, regulate it, and use it ethically, or will it become another tool for surveillance and manipulation? But you don't need fancy machines to take control of your dreams. There's a skill that anyone can learn, and once you master it, you become the director of your own nighttime cinema. The question is, are you ready to wake up while you're still asleep? Because what I'm about to teach you will change how you experience a third of your entire life. Have you ever been in a dream and suddenly realized, wait a minute, this isn't real, I'm dreaming right now? That moment of clarity, that spark of awareness in the middle of the unconscious, that's called lucid dreaming. It's a hybrid state where your brain is technically asleep in REM, your body is paralyzed, you're dreaming, but your self-awareness center, the dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex, flicks the light switch back on. You become conscious inside the dream, and once you're conscious, you can control it. People think lucid dreaming is just for fun, like a video game in your head where you can fly around or visit exotic places. And sure, you can do that, but the reality beats the expectation. Lucid dreaming is actually a high-level skill used by athletes to practice moves while they sleep, by artists to access creative ideas, by people with PTSD to confront and stop nightmares in their tracks, and by anyone who wants to explore the full potential of their mind. Research has shown that when athletes practice a physical skill in a lucid dream, their actual performance improves almost as much as physical practice. Why? Because your brain doesn't fully distinguish between imagination and reality. When you vividly imagine doing something or dream about it lucidly, you're activating the same motor pathways, the same neural circuits as when you actually do it. There's a famous study of basketball players who practiced free throws in 3 groups. One group practiced physically every day, one group just visualized practicing, and one group did nothing. The physical practice group improved by 24%. The group that did nothing showed no improvement, obviously, but the visualization group? They improved by 23%, almost the same as the physical practice group. Now imagine you could practice in a lucid dream where the visualization is so vivid and immersive that it feels completely real. That's the power we're talking about. So how do you actually become lucid in a dream? The most reliable method is something called reality testing or reality checking. The concept is simple, but it requires discipline. In real life, gravity works consistently. Clocks stay the same when you look away and look back. Light switches work, your hands have the right number of fingers, and text stays readable. In a dream, all of these things are unstable. In a dream, if you look at a clock, look away, and look back, the time will have changed randomly. If you try to read text, the words will shift and scramble. If you look at your hands, you might have too many fingers, or they might look distorted. If you try to fly, you might actually float upward. The trick is to habitually ask yourself multiple times a day while you're awake, am I dreaming? Then perform a reality check. Look at your hands, try to push your finger through your palm, read some text twice, check a clock. At first this feels silly, you know you're awake, but you're training a habit, and eventually that habit will carry over into your dreams. You'll be in the middle of a dream and out of nowhere you'll think, wait, am I dreaming? You'll look at your hands, see 6 fingers, and boom, you're lucid. I recommend doing reality checks at least 10 to 15 times a day, especially during moments that often show up in dreams, when you go through a doorway, when you see something unusual, when you feel a strong emotion. These triggers will help the habit stick. MILD stands for Mnemonic Induction of Lucid Dreams. It was developed by Dr. Stephen LaBerge, one of the pioneers of lucid dreaming research. Here's how it works. Set an alarm for about 5 to 6 hours after you fall asleep. When the alarm goes off, wake up fully. Get out of bed, walk around for a few minutes, think about the dream you were just having, if you remember it. You want to wake your conscious mind up enough that you're alert. Then go back to bed with a clear intention. As you're falling back asleep, repeat a mantra in your mind. The next time I'm dreaming, I will remember that I'm dreaming. Visualize yourself becoming lucid in a dream. Imagine what it will feel like to realize you're dreaming. You're essentially planting a seed in your mind, programming your intention so that when you cycle back into REM, which happens quickly after waking from REM, you're more likely to catch yourself dreaming. The success rate for MILD is about 15 to 20% per attempt for beginners, and with practice, it can go much higher. LaBerge himself claims he can lucid dream almost at will using this technique. WILD stands for Wake Initiated Lucid Dream, and it's for the pros, the advanced practitioners. This technique is about trying to keep your conscious mind awake while your body falls asleep. You're essentially trying to thread the needle, to slip directly from waking consciousness into a dream without losing awareness. Here's the method. Lie completely still in a comfortable position. Don't move at all. Your body will start to do body checks. You'll get itches, the urge to roll over, weird sensations. These are tests. Your body is checking to see if you're asleep yet. If you move, you reset the timer. If you stay completely still, you'll start to feel strange things. Some people report vibrations, buzzing sounds, a feeling of sinking or floating, auditory hallucinations, flashes of light. This is called sleep paralysis kicking in, and it can be scary if you don't know what's happening. But if you stay calm and keep your mind focused, you'll slip directly into a dream, fully conscious. The advantage of WILD is that you start the dream already lucid. The disadvantage is that it's difficult and can take months or years to master. Many people find the sleep paralysis phase too uncomfortable or frightening to push through. Here's the story I mentioned at the beginning, and it's one of the most incredible scientific breakthroughs in dream research history. In February 2021, a team of researchers led by Karen Concoli at Northwestern University published a study in the journal Current Biology that should have been impossible. They trained people to lucid dream using the techniques I just described, reality checks, mild, all of it. Then they brought the participants into a sleep lab and monitored them with EEG to track their brainwaves. When the participants entered REM and signaled that they were lucid by moving their eyes in a specific prearranged pattern, left, right, the researchers did something wild. They spoke to them. Not just spoke, they asked questions. Simple questions, math problems like, what's 8 minus 6? Or yes-no questions, do you speak Spanish? And here's the insane part, the dreamers answered. They couldn't speak, remember they're paralyzed in REM atonia, but they could move their eyes and sometimes their facial muscles. So they answered by moving their eyes in coded patterns. 1 movement for yes, 2 for no. Or they spelled out numbers using eye movements. The participant would be in the middle of a dream, say walking through a forest or having a conversation with a dream character, and suddenly they'd hear a voice from the outside of the dream, a voice from the real world, and they'd understand that it was a researcher speaking to them, and they'd answer the question, and then they'd go back to their dream. This was the first confirmed two-way conversation between the waking world and the dreaming world. Humans literally broke through the wall between consciousness and dreams. We established communication with another realm of existence, the realm of the sleeping mind. Now think about what this means. It means dreams aren't sealed off in an isolated bubble. There's a permeable membrane. Information can cross from waking to dreaming and back again. We can teach people things while they sleep, potentially. We can guide their dreams. We can study consciousness in ways we never could before. This is one of the most underrated scientific breakthroughs of the 21st century, and most people have never heard of it. Now, you might be wondering, if we can control our dreams and even communicate through them, what's actually making us tired in the first place? Why do we need to sleep at all? The answer involves a chemical that's been building up in your brain since the second you woke up this morning, and it explains why that afternoon coffee crash hits so hard. Why do you get tired in the first place? It's not just because the sun went down. It's not just because you've been awake for a certain number of hours. It's because of a chemical called adenosine, and understanding how it works will change how you think about caffeine, naps, and your entire sleep schedule. From the second you wake up, adenosine starts building up in your brain like sand filling an hourglass. Every minute you're awake, every thought you think, every movement you make, your cells are burning energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. When ATP gets used, it breaks down, and one of the byproducts is adenosine. This adenosine accumulates in your brain. It binds to receptors in your neurons, specifically adenosine receptors, and when enough of them are bound, they send a signal, "We're tired, time to shut down." This is sleep pressure, and it's literally a physical, chemical pressure building in your brain throughout the day. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine accumulates, the more pressure builds. When you sleep, your brain drains the adenosine. It gets cleared away by the glymphatic system, which I'll explain in detail later. And when you wake up, the pressure is back to zero. You feel refreshed, alert, ready to go. This is why pulling an all-nighter makes you feel terrible. It's not just psychological exhaustion. You have toxic levels of adenosine flooding your brain, screaming at you to sleep, and you're ignoring the signal. If you stay awake long enough, you'll start hallucinating, becoming paranoid, losing cognitive function. Your brain is essentially poisoning itself with adenosine overload. Caffeine doesn't actually give you energy. This is a myth that most people believe. Caffeine doesn't add fuel to your system. It's a blocker. Here's how it works. Caffeine molecules are shaped almost identically to adenosine molecules. When you drink coffee or an energy drink, the caffeine rushes to your brain and slides into the adenosine receptors, blocking them. Your adenosine is still there, still building up, but it can't bind to the receptors because caffeine is sitting in its parking spot. So your brain doesn't get the tired signal. You feel alert and awake, not because you have more energy, but because you've blocked the signal that tells you you're tired. But here's the catch. The adenosine doesn't go away. It just waits. It keeps accumulating. And when the caffeine wears off, caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, meaning half of it is gone from your system in that time. All that built-up adenosine floods the receptors at once. That's the caffeine crash. It's not that the caffeine energy wore off, it's that all the tiredness you were suppressing hits you at once like a tidal wave. You feel more tired than you would have if you'd never had the caffeine in the first place. This is why people get stuck in a cycle. Coffee in the morning to wake up, coffee in the afternoon to fight the crash, trouble sleeping at night because there's still caffeine in your system, wake up tired, repeat. It's a hamster wheel. I'm not saying don't drink coffee. I love coffee, but understand what it's doing. It's not giving you energy. It's borrowing alertness from your future self and charging interest. If you understand adenosine, you can hack your sleep. One of the most effective hacks is the strategic nap. A 20-minute power nap doesn't give you much deep sleep or REM, but it does give your brain a chance to clear out some adenosine. It takes the pressure down a notch. You wake up feeling refreshed because you've drained some of the sleepiness chemical without falling into the deeper stages of sleep that cause grogginess. But if you nap for 90 minutes, you complete a full sleep cycle. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM, back to light sleep. You wake up at the end of a natural cycle and you feel great. You've cleared a significant amount of adenosine and gotten some of the restorative benefits of deep sleep. The worst time to wake up from a nap is 30 to 60 minutes in because you're likely in deep sleep. Waking from deep sleep feels awful because your brain is in full delta wave mode, and yanking it back to consciousness is like trying to start a car in the middle of a flood. So, 20-minute naps for a quick refresh or 90-minute naps for a full recharge. Avoid the 30 to 60 zone unless you enjoy feeling like a zombie. But if sleep is just about clearing out adenosine, why does your brain bother creating these elaborate stories with talking penguins and impossible physics? Why not just shut down completely and save energy? Turns out, there are several wild theories about the deeper why behind dreams, and one of them suggests your brain is secretly training you for survival scenarios you might never face in real life. We've covered the basics of the major dream theories, but let's get into the stuff that's truly unique, the perspectives that most YouTube videos never touch. Scientists have dozens of theories on why we dream, and they all have a piece of the puzzle, but none of them have the complete picture. This is one of my favorite theories because it's deeply evolutionary. Finnish psychologist Antti Revonsu proposed that dreams are essentially your brain's virtual reality training simulator for threats. Think about our ancestors, Homo sapiens living 50,000 years ago on the African savanna. Life was dangerous, predators everywhere, hostile, rival tribes, cliffs you could fall off, poisonous plants, injuries that could kill you. The humans who survived weren't just the strongest or the fastest, they were the ones who could anticipate danger and react appropriately. But here's the problem. You can't practice running from a lion until a lion is actually chasing you, and at that point it's too late to learn. You either respond correctly or you die. There's no room for error. Dreams solve this problem. They let you practice dangerous scenarios in a safe virtual environment. You dream about being chased, so your brain rehearses the fear response and the escape behaviors. You dream about falling, so your brain practices that sinking, terrifying sensation and how to react. You dream about social rejection, being naked in public, forgetting your lines, because for social animals like humans, social threats can be just as deadly as physical ones. Get kicked out of the tribe in prehistoric times and you probably died. Modern humans don't face saber-toothed tigers anymore, but our brains are still running the same ancient software. So now we dream about missing a flight, showing up late to a meeting, our teeth falling out, getting a call that a loved one is in the hospital, showing up to an exam we didn't study for. Our threats have changed from predator to social failure and modern anxieties, but the simulation system is the same. Ravonsu analyzed thousands of dreams and found that about 70% of dreams contain some element of threat: chasing, attacking, accidents, disasters, social humiliation, and in most of those dreams, the dreamer is actively trying to deal with the threat, practicing responses, testing solutions. Humans are ultra-social animals. Our survival has never depended on physical strength. We're weak, slow, and our teeth and claws are pathetic compared to real predators. We survived because we cooperated, formed alliances, understood each other, and built complex social structures. The social simulation theory, proposed by Finnish researcher Antti Ravonsu, yes, the same guy, and others, suggests that dreams are your brain's way of practicing social interactions. You dream about conversations, arguments, negotiations, friendships, betrayals, romance, because your brain is running social simulations. Think about how many of your dreams involve other people. You're talking to a friend, arguing with a parent, meeting a stranger, navigating a complex social situation. Your brain is practicing theory of mind, the ability to understand what other people are thinking and feeling, which is one of the most computationally complex things a human brain does. Studies have shown that people who are more socially connected and have more complex social lives tend to dream more about social interactions, and people who struggle with social anxiety tend to have more dreams about social rejection or humiliation. Their brains are running extra simulations to try to solve the problem. This is where dreams get really interesting from a creative and problem-solving perspective. When you're awake, your prefrontal cortex, the executive function part of your brain, is in charge. It enforces rules, logic, social norms, physics. It says, no, you can't combine a sewing machine and an umbrella. That's ridiculous. But when you're dreaming, the prefrontal cortex is partially offline. It's not enforcing the rules. So your brain is free to make connections that would never happen in waking life. It can combine ideas that seem totally unrelated and see if something interesting emerges. This is why so many famous breakthroughs have come from dreams. Dmitri Mendeleev dreamed the structure of the periodic table. Auguste Kekule discovered the ring structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its own tail. Paul McCartney heard the melody for Yesterday in a dream. Mary Shelley came up with the story of Frankenstein from a dream. Elias Howe invented the modern sewing machine after dreaming of spears with holes in the tips. Your brain is running what-if scenarios, testing combinations, exploring possibility space without the constraints of logic. It's doing combinatorial innovation, taking element A and element B that have nothing to do with each other and smashing them together to see what happens. This is also why sleep improves learning and memory. Students who study before bed and then sleep perform better than students who study and stay awake. Your brain is taking the new information and connecting it to your existing knowledge network, finding places where it fits, strengthening the pathways. This is a more philosophical theory, but it's compelling. The idea is that consciousness is fragmented during the day. You're constantly shifting between tasks, contexts, identities. You're a different self at work than you are with your family, different with friends than you are alone. Your experiences are scattered across different contexts and don't necessarily connect. Dreams might be how your brain integrates all of these fragments into a coherent narrative self. The bizarre, surreal nature of dreams, where your boss from 10 years ago shows up in your childhood home talking to your college roommate, might be your brain trying to find connections between disparate parts of your life, stitching together a unified sense of identity. This would explain why dreams feel deeply meaningful even when they're objectively nonsensical. Your brain is doing important work: self-integration, narrative construction, identity formation. But the surface content is weird because it's metaphorical, not literal. And this is where the incredible discovery comes in, something your brain does every single night that literally keeps it from drowning in its own waste. Miss this, and your mind starts breaking down, losing memories, and potentially developing degenerative diseases. This is the secret janitor that cleans your brain while you sleep. Remember at the start when I mentioned that sleep is a power wash? It's not a metaphor. It's literally true. Your brain has a waste removal system called the glymphatic system, and it's one of the most important discoveries in neuroscience in the last 20 years. Here's the problem. Your brain is incredibly active. 20% of your body's energy goes to your brain, even though your brain is only 2% of your body weight. All that activity produces waste, metabolic byproducts, damaged proteins, cellular debris. One of the most concerning waste products is beta amyloid, a protein fragment that, if it builds up, forms the plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease. Every other organ in your body has a lymphatic system to drain waste, but your brain is special. It's protected by the blood-brain barrier, which keeps most substances out, including the lymphatic system's cleaning crew. So how does your brain get rid of waste? For a long time, scientists didn't know. Then in 2012, Dr. Micah Niedergard at the University of Rochester made a breakthrough discovery. The brain has its own waste removal system that activates primarily during sleep. During deep sleep, the space between your brain cells, the interstitial space, expands by up to 60%. Your brain cells literally shrink, creating larger gaps between them. Then, cerebrospinal fluid, SCF, the clear liquid that surrounds your brain and spinal cord, rushes through these expanded spaces like a power washer. It flows along pathways surrounding blood vessels, pushing through the brain tissue, collecting waste products like beta amyloid, tau proteins, and other cellular debris. The waste gets flushed out into the lymphatic vessels in your neck, where it's eventually filtered through your liver and kidneys and expelled from your body. It's like your brain has a cleaning crew that comes in at night, expands the hallways, and hoses everything down. Dr. Niedergard called it the glymphatic system, a combination of glia, the support cells that make up part of the system, and lymphatic. If you don't sleep, this cleaning process doesn't happen. The waste builds up. Beta amyloid accumulates, tau proteins tangle, inflammatory molecules linger. Over time, this buildup is toxic. Studies have shown that even one night of sleep deprivation causes a measurable increase in beta amyloid in the brain. Chronic sleep deprivation, getting less than 6 or 7 hours regularly, is associated with significantly higher risk of Alzheimer's disease, dementia, cognitive decline, and neurodegenerative disorders. Think about it. Every night you skip sleep or get poor quality sleep, your brain is literally staying dirty. It's like never taking out the trash. At first, it's just unpleasant, but over weeks, months, years, it becomes toxic. There's also emerging evidence that the glymphatic system is more active when you sleep on your side compared to your back or stomach. The anatomical structure of the brain and the flow patterns of cerebrospinal fluid seem to be optimized for side sleeping. So if you want to maximize your brain cleaning, sleep on your side. Picture this. Your brain is like a bustling city during the day. Streets are packed with cars, construction crews are working, restaurants are serving customers, delivery trucks are making rounds. There's activity everywhere. Commerce, traffic, people living their lives. But all that activity creates trash. Food wrappers, broken equipment, dust, debris, exhaust fumes. It piles up in the streets and alleys. Now imagine if the city never closed down to clean the streets, if the garbage trucks never came, if the street sweepers never ran, if the cleaning crews never showed up. Day after day, week after week, the trash would accumulate. First, it would just be unsightly. Then it would start to smell. Then it would attract rats and disease. Eventually, the whole city would become unlivable. The infrastructure would break down, the systems would fail, and the city would collapse. That's exactly what happens in your brain without sleep. The glymphatic system is your night crew, your sanitation department. When you fall into deep sleep, the city empties out, the streets widen, your brain cells shrink, and the cleaning trucks roll through. Your cerebrospinal fluid floods the interstitial spaces, washing away the toxic waste that built up all day. Skip sleep, and you're living in a city drowning in its own trash. Do it long enough, and the damage becomes permanent. This is why sleep is not an option. It's not a luxury or a waste of time. It's essential maintenance for the most complex machine in the known universe, your brain. Now, there's one final piece of the puzzle, the techniques that can help you optimize all of this. Because knowing how sleep works is one thing, but actually improving your sleep quality is where the real transformation happens. So let me give you the practical, actionable strategies that will help you master your sleep architecture. We've covered the science, the theories, the weird and wonderful world of sleep and dreams. Now let's talk about what you can actually do tonight to sleep better, dream clearer, and wake up feeling like a different person. I know, you've heard this before, but most people don't actually do it, so let's go through the essentials. Temperature. Your body needs to drop its core temperature to initiate sleep. The ideal bedroom temperature is between 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, or 15 to 19 degrees Celsius. If your room is too warm, your body can't cool down properly, and your sleep quality suffers. If you can't control the temperature, try taking a hot shower 60 to 90 minutes before bed. When you get out, your body temperature drops rapidly, which triggers sleepiness. Darkness. Light is the enemy of melatonin, the hormone that signals your brain it's time to sleep. Any light, even the LED on your phone charger, can suppress melatonin production. Get blackout curtains, cover LEDs with tape, or wear a sleep mask. Your room should be so dark you can't see your hand in front of your face. Silence or white noise. Sudden noises can fragment your sleep even if they don't fully wake you. Each time your brain registers a loud sound, it has to check if it's a threat, which disrupts your sleep architecture. Use earplugs or a white noise machine to create a consistent sound environment that masks irregular noises. The blue light problem. Blue light from screens, phones, tablets, laptops, TVs suppresses melatonin more than any other wavelength. If you must use screens in the evening, use blue light filters or apps like Flux that shift your screen to warmer tones after sunset. Better yet, stop using screens 1 to 2 hours before bed. Read a physical book, talk to someone, stretch, meditate, anything that doesn't involve a glowing rectangle in your face. Caffeine timing. Remember adenosine? Caffeine blocks it. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. If you have coffee at 4 p.m., half of that caffeine is still in your system at 10 p.m. Even if you can fall asleep fine with caffeine in your system, it's degrading your sleep quality. Cut off caffeine at least 8 to 10 hours before bed. For most people, that means no coffee after 2 p.m. Alcohol, the sleep thief. Alcohol makes you feel sleepy and helps you fall asleep faster, so people think it's a sleep aid. It's not. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep. You spend less time dreaming and more time in lighter stages. It also causes fragmented sleep and early morning awakenings. You might sleep 8 hours with alcohol, but wake up feeling terrible because you didn't get proper REM cycles. Avoid alcohol at least 3 to 4 hours before bed. Consistency, the most powerful tool. Your body has a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour internal clock regulated by light exposure. If you go to bed at 10 p.m. one night and 2 a.m. the next, you're constantly jet-lagging yourself. Pick a consistent bedtime and wake time, even on weekends, and stick to it. Your body will start to anticipate sleep and produce melatonin at the right time. This alone can transform your sleep quality. The 10-3-2-1-0 formula. Here's a simple framework to remember. 10 hours before bed, no more caffeine. 3 hours before bed, no more food or alcohol. 2 hours before bed, no more work or stressful activities. 1 hour before bed, no more screens. 0, the number of times you hit snooze in the morning. This formula creates a wind-down buffer that lets your body and mind transition into sleep mode naturally. You can't improve what you don't measure. Consider using a sleep tracker, either a wearable like an Oura Ring, Whoop, or Apple Watch, or a non-wearable like the Withings sleep mat that goes under your mattress. These devices track your sleep stages, your heart rate variability, your restlessness, and give you a sleep score based on quality metrics. They're not perfect, they can't replace a professional sleep lab, but they give you data to experiment with. Try changing one variable at a time: room temperature, caffeine timing, bedtime, etc. See what moves the needle on your sleep score. Over time, you'll dial in your personal optimal sleep protocol. Your brain needs a signal that it's time to shift from daytime mode to sleep mode. Create a consistent wind-down routine that you do every night. This trains your brain to start producing melatonin and relaxing when it sees the routine starting. Example routine: 9 p.m. Dim the lights in your house. 9:15 p.m. Take a hot shower. 9:30 p.m. Make a cup of herbal tea, chamomile, valerian root. 9:45 p.m. Journal for 10 minutes, brain dump any thoughts or worries. 10 p.m. Read a physical book in bed with a dim warm lamp. 10:30 p.m. Lights out. The specifics don't matter as much as the consistency. Your brain learns the pattern and starts preparing for sleep as soon as you begin the routine. Most sleep supplements are garbage, but a few have solid scientific backing. Magnesium. Most people are deficient in magnesium, and it's involved in over 300 biochemical reactions, including relaxation and sleep. Magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate are the best forms. 300 to 400 milligrams taken 30 to 60 minutes before bed can significantly improve sleep quality and reduce nighttime waking. L-theanine, an amino acid found in tea that promotes relaxation without sedation. 200 to 400 milligrams before bed can help quiet the mind and ease you into sleep. It works by increasing GABA, serotonin, and dopamine, neurotransmitters that promote calm and well-being. Glycine, another amino acid that helps lower body temperature. Remember, temperature drop is essential for sleep. 3 grams before bed has been shown to improve subjective sleep quality and reduce daytime fatigue. Apigenin, a compound found in chamomile that binds to benzodiazepine receptors in your brain, creating a mild anti-anxiety effect. 50 milligrams can help reduce the time it takes to fall asleep. Melatonin. Use carefully. Melatonin is a timing signal, not a sleep drug. It tells your body it's nighttime. Taking 0.3 to 0.5 milligrams, not the 5 to 10 milligrams most supplements contain, about 30 to 60 minutes before bed can help reset your circadian rhythm, especially if you're jet-lagged or dealing with shift work. But don't use it every night because your body can become dependent on external melatonin and stop producing its own. What not to take? Benadryl or diphenhydramine. Yes, it makes you drowsy, but it suppresses REM sleep, causes grogginess the next day, and builds tolerance quickly. Terrible for long-term use. Sleeping pills, benzodiazepines, or Z drugs, these drugs don't produce natural sleep. They produce sedation, which looks like sleep on an EEG, but doesn't provide the same restorative benefits. They're also highly addictive and impair memory formation. Avoid unless absolutely medically necessary. If you want to level up your dream recall and lucid dreaming practice, here are advanced techniques. Dream journaling. Keep a notebook by your bed. The instant you wake up, before you move, before you check your phone, write down everything you remember about your dreams, even fragments, even single images or feelings. Why? Because dream memory is extremely fragile. It evaporates within seconds of waking unless you capture it. By journaling consistently, you train your brain that dreams are important and worth remembering. Over time, your recall will improve dramatically. Many people say, "I don't dream." That's false. Everyone dreams multiple times per night. What they mean is, "I don't remember my dreams." Dream journaling fixes this. The WBTB method. This is one of the most effective lucid dreaming techniques. Set an alarm for 4.5 or 6 hours after you fall asleep, timing it to wake during or after a REM period. Get up, stay awake for 20 to 30 minutes, read about lucid dreaming, do some reality checks, get your mind focused on the intention to become lucid. Then go back to bed. You'll fall back into REM very quickly, and because your conscious mind was just active, you're much more likely to carry awareness into the dream. The SSILD technique. This is a gentle technique that works well for beginners. As you're falling asleep, do cycles of focus on what you can see, even with the eyes closed, the darkness, the patterns. Focus on what you can hear, the silence, distant sounds. Focus on what you can feel, your body, the bed, temperature. Do this cycle 4 to 5 times quickly, then let yourself fall asleep. You're priming your sensory awareness so that when you start dreaming, you're more likely to notice the sensory experience and become lucid. Galantamine. This is a supplement derived from the snowdrop flower that increases acetylcholine in the brain, the neurotransmitter associated with REM sleep and vividness. Taking 4 to 8 milligrams during a WBTB session can dramatically increase dream intensity and lucidity rates, but it's not something to use every night, once or twice a week maximum. Let's talk about how to use sleep strategically for different objectives. For learning and memory, if you're studying for an exam or learning a new skill, review the material right before bed. Your brain will prioritize consolidating that recent information during sleep. Then review it again first thing in the morning. This bookending technique, last thing before sleep, first thing after waking, is incredibly effective because you're hitting the memory at its most consolidation vulnerable moments. For emotional processing, if you're dealing with difficult emotions, grief, heartbreak, anxiety, make sure you're getting enough REM sleep. REM is when emotional processing happens. Some studies suggest sleeping longer, 9 to 10 hours, for a few nights when going through emotional trauma can accelerate healing because you're giving your brain more REM time to process. For creativity and problem solving, before bed, clearly define the problem you're trying to solve. Write it down, think about it deeply, then tell yourself, I'm going to dream about solutions to this problem. Your brain will often work on the problem during REM and present you with novel approaches in the morning. Keep your dream journal ready. Solutions often come in dream form or in the hypnopompic state, the transition from sleep to waking. For physical performance, athletes should prioritize sleep almost above everything else. Growth hormone is released during deep sleep, which is when muscle repair and growth happen. If you're training hard, aim for 9 to 10 hours of sleep, not 7 to 8. The extra deep sleep is where the adaptation occurs. We've talked about the benefits of good sleep, but let's address what happens when you chronically don't get enough, because the consequences are severe, and most people don't realize how impaired they are. After just 17 hours of being awake, your cognitive performance is impaired to the same level as having a blood alcohol content of 0.05. After 24 hours awake, you're at 0.1% BAC, legally drunk in most places. But you don't feel drunk, so you think you're fine. You're not. Chronic sleep deprivation, less than 6 hours per night, increases your risk of heart disease by 45%, stroke by 15%, type 2 diabetes by 30%, obesity, sleep deprivation disrupts leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that control hunger, depression and anxiety disorders, Alzheimer's and dementia due to beta amyloid accumulation, early death by 12%. And you're more likely to make mistakes, have accidents, have memory problems, and struggle with emotional regulation. Your immune system weakens. People who sleep less than 7 hours are 3 times more likely to catch a cold when exposed to the virus compared to people who sleep 8+ hours. And here's the scary part. After about 10 days of sleeping 6 hours or less, you're as impaired as if you'd stayed awake for 24 hours straight. But because you're getting some sleep, you don't realize how impaired you are. This is called performance without awareness. You think you're functioning fine, but objective testing shows you're making mistakes, missing information, and thinking slower. You can't catch up on sleep on the weekend. Sleep debt is real, and while you can recover somewhat, chronic sleep deprivation causes lasting damage. The only solution is to prioritize sleep consistently, every single night. Sometimes sleep problems aren't about habits or optimization, they're medical issues that need professional help. See a doctor or sleep specialist if you experience sleep apnea. You snore loudly, wake up gasping, or your partner says you stop breathing during sleep. Sleep apnea is dangerous. It disrupts your sleep architecture, prevents deep sleep, and increases risk of heart attack and stroke. It's treatable with CPAP machines or other interventions. Insomnia.
You regularly can't fall asleep or stay asleep despite good sleep hygiene, and it's affecting your daytime functioning. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, is the gold standard treatment and is more effective long-term than sleeping pills. Restless leg syndrome, uncomfortable sensations in your legs that create an irresistible urge to move them, especially at night. This can be caused by iron deficiency or other treatable conditions. Narcolepsy. You fall asleep uncontrollably during the day, experience sudden muscle weakness triggered by emotions, or have sleep paralysis regularly. This is a neurological disorder that requires medical management. Parasomnias. Sleepwalking, sleep talking, sleep eating, or acting out dreams violently, REM behavior disorder. These can be dangerous and should be evaluated by a sleep specialist. Don't tough it out if you have a real sleep disorder. Modern sleep medicine has effective treatments, but you have to actually seek help.
Let's zoom out and look at the big picture one more time, because I want to leave you with the full weight of what we've covered today. Sleep is not downtime. It's not your body turning off for 8 hours. It's not wasted time or unnecessary evil. Sleep is an active, dynamic, essential process that every complex organism on Earth engages in because it's that important. When you sleep, your brain is running memory consolidation processes that turn experiences into long-term knowledge, clearing toxic waste through the glymphatic system that would otherwise cause neurodegeneration, processing emotions and stripping the painful sting from traumatic memories, simulating threats and social scenarios to prepare you for real-world challenges, making creative connections between disparate ideas that lead to breakthroughs, repairing your body at the cellular level, releasing growth hormone and strengthening your immune system, dreaming, creating entire worlds, narratives, and experiences that might hold solutions to problems you're facing. You spend roughly 1/3 of your life asleep. If you live to 90, that's 30 years of sleep. Most people think of that as 30 years lost, but it's not lost time, it's invested time. It's when your brain and body do the maintenance that allows you to function the other 2/3 of your life. And now you know that you can actually take control of this process. You can optimize your sleep architecture by understanding temperature, light, caffeine timing, and consistency. You can enhance your dreams through journaling and lucid dreaming techniques. You can even potentially communicate across the boundary between waking and sleeping, as the Northwestern study proved. You have the toolkit now. You understand the stages N1, N2, N3, and REM, and what happens in each one. You know why you dream and the multiple theories that explain it. Memory consolidation, emotional regulation, threat simulation, social practice, creativity incubation. You know about the glymphatic system and why deep sleep is literally cleaning your brain. You know that animals dream and what that tells us about consciousness. You know about the cutting-edge technology that can decode dreams, and you know the practical, actionable steps to sleep better starting tonight. Here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, treat sleep like the superpower it is. Commit to the basics: consistent schedule, cool, dark room, no caffeine after 2 p.m., wind down routine, track your sleep, keep a dream journal, try a reality check practice, see what changes. I promise you, the difference will be dramatic. You'll wake up clearer, think faster, remember more, regulate emotions better, and potentially unlock creative insights you didn't know were possible. Remember, even the best scientists, artists, athletes, and high performers started with zero knowledge about sleep. It's the ones who stay curious and willing to experiment that win. You've got the knowledge now. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Sleep isn't just rest, it's transformation. It's when your brain becomes who you'll be tomorrow. Sweet dreams.